All right, what are the warning signs that I have a boundary issue in my relationship?
Anger is always about boundaries.
Okay.
You don't use the word always very often.
Okay.
But I'm comfortable. Anger is always about boundaries. Now, it's not always unhealthy. It's not always wrong.
Okay.
But it's always about, anger is always about
Is it
wanting.
a warning sign?
Anger's,
Something's out of order?
Every emotion serves a purpose. Anger is the emotion of distancing and protection and whatever. Of Italians? Yeah, it took me a minute to catch that.
That's all right.
Yeah, but anger is always about, I want you to do something you're not doing or stop doing something you are doing. That's obviously very loosely. So how do I know I have a boundary problem? Emotion, encroachment creates emotion.
Okay.
When there's an encroachment of boundaries, it's always going to create an emotional
So you feel
response.
violated?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the tricky thing is it may manifest, this might be the issue, but it may show up over here. And, but yeah, almost always when there's boundary violations, you're going to have emotional smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And, but anger's a big one. Anger's another thought that's cool about anger is, anger's a secondary emotion. It's never the first one.
Yeah.
You know, you feel it after you've been hurt, disrespected, abandoned or whatever. So it's really good to, listen to emotions. Don't believe everything they tell you, but follow them because they're trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
And
I know for me, when God started to put his finger on my issue with anger, I found out the real issue was fear.
Yeah.
So the anger masked the fear.
Yep.
So it wasn't an anger issue, it was a fear issue. And
That's
actually,
good.
if you go a little further, it was a belief issue, an unbelief issue, because I believe that God was good for everybody, but not for me.
Yeah.
So there was, I had to go all the way to the root of that. What is the warning sign that I'm seeking to control or manipulate other people in my life?
I mean, not meaning to be comical, but people just avoid you.
No, it would
you
be
either
true.
you either have short friendships with healthier people, and all the friends you have for any length of time are not very healthy, because healthy people are not going to hang around that. They're not going to. It's just not going to work for them. So watching the kind of friends you attract and retain tells you something about yourself. What
about in a marriage situation?
If you're manipulative, just assume you are. No. I mean, really, to some degree, I mean that. Assume that you are, meaning we all have a desire to work toward the things that we think we need and want, and we may not necessarily have direct ways that we go about it. So, I mean it, assume that you probably have some less than direct, full of integrity ways you go about getting what you want. And if you just take the word manipulate, it's not a bad word.
Maybe they're trying to protect themselves for a season.
Well, manipulate just means to move that plan. I manipulated that plan. Yeah. So it's not bad. It's just, it does get down to motives and methods.
So if you're manipulating someone to control them, that's always unhealthy. But if you're manipulating something to change a situation where you're no longer training them to treat you the way you used to train them to treat you, but you're training them a new way, that would be moving it towards health rather than moving it towards control.
A word you just said triggered this for me. If you're manipulating someone to control them, and I would probably be pretty comfortable looking at manipulation the same way. People don't have control issues. What you were doing a minute ago, where you were kind of following it down. People that feel the need to control don't trust they're going to get what they need unless they make unless they control it. So control is really a trust issue, and trust is really a fear issue. And so when I'm around someone who's manipulative or controlling, I'm kind of what you did, and I was kind of smiling when you did it because it was beautifully done, how you went from the problem itself and worked down, because here's the key. This is the fruit, this is the root. If you attack the fruit, you strengthen the root.
Yeah.
And
you're pruning the tree.
So, and it's just going to grow bigger fruit of that same kind. So with manipulation and control, it really is someone who's fearful that I'm not going to get what I need. I'm not going to get love. I'm not going to get whatever. And that at least elicits some compassion from us.
Right.
Doesn't make it any more pleasant, but it elicits compassion and maybe helps us think a little bit more about coming up with a solution than just dealing with the person.
Right.